Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 16th September 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers, which are very relevant for your examination. In the initial two articles, we have included two mains practice questions which will be highly relevant for your mains examination. So in the first topic, we'll try to understand the recent order and its implications with regard to Waqf Amendment Act 2025. Then in our second topic, we'll try to understand various dimensions of rising cases of obesity in India and world. Then in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we'll try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims and mains examinations. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So let's start with the first topic, that is Supreme Court order on Waqf Act. The context of this topic is that the Supreme Court on Monday states certain provisions of the Waqf Amendment Act 2025, and this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, Judiciary and Indian Constitution. So the literal meaning of Waqf is confinement, but as per Waqf Act 1995, the Waqf can be defined as the permanent dedication of movable or immovable property for the purposes which are enshrined in Islam as religious, charitable or pious. For example, let's suppose there is a person with the name Mr. A and he wants to transfer or donate a parcel of land which can be now used for some of the religious purposes or pious purposes or charitable purposes. For example, a hospital can be built or school can be built which can help in providing certain benefits to the community of that particular religion. So Waqf will be established whenever an individual will be voluntarily dedicating property for some of these purposes. And now this dedication or the transfer that will happen or the donation that will happen, that will transfer the ownership from that individual Mr. A to God, and that will make the property inalienable, and they will be now managed by a person with the name Mutawalli, who is also will be the supervisor. And this transfer is now non-reversible or irreversible. And these properties are actually managed by the Waqf Board, which are the statutory bodies created under this Waqf Act 1995. And they are legal entities having the power of acquiring, holding and moving the properties which are transferred as Waqf or established as Waqf. As of now, there are 30 Waqf Board which are functioning across country in different states. Generally, in every state there is one Waqf Board. In some of the states like Uttar Pradesh, we have 2 Waqf Board. One is for Shia community and another is for Sunni community. And they are managing around 8,72,000 properties with around coverage of 9.4 lakh acres of land. They are having around third largest land after Ministry of Defence and Ministry of Railways and then Ministry of Defence. And these properties can actually give them around 12,000 crore of annual revenues, but the realized revenue is only 2,000 crore as of now. But the problem was certain things, the litigation involved around these Waqf properties. For example, in one of the districts of Tamil Nadu, a person who once went to sell his parcel of land in sub-registrar office, at that point of time he got to know that that particular land is now transferred under the Waqf. And what the Waqf says, that it is irreversible. That transfer that happened cannot be reversed now. And that led to various litigations, and the litigations were going in Waqf tribunal with limited powers of appellate in the higher courts. And that is the reason the litigations surrounding this act, various allegations of corruption surrounding this act, is the reason why government is saying that they went with that particular amendment. Now let's try to also understand the legal framework. So in year 1954, the first Waqf Act was passed by the Parliament. In 1955, the Act was repealed and it was replaced by this Waqf Act of 1995, which granted more powers to Waqf Board as well as it formalized the regulation of Waqf properties. Plus in 2013 again amendments were done, and they again gave significant power to Waqf Board, and they also got significant authority to decide properties as Waqf under the section 40. So there are a lot of powers that are given to Waqf Board itself, and with limited appellate power, with limited resolution mechanisms available, it was creating problems for various people. Also, the Mutawalli is a person or who is the supervisor, who will be managing, or who is the caretaker, who will be ensuring all the property is used according to the intended purpose. For example, if someone is donating for educational purpose, so it will be the responsibility of mutawalli to ensure that that is being used for that purpose only. Also, the survey commissioner, who is appointed under section 4 of Waqf Act 1995, they will be identifying and they will be listing Waqf properties by conducting local investigation, examining the land records, and also summoning the witnesses. And these Waqf boards have the property of administering and recovering the Waqf property. If some property is encroached by some private individual or someone else, they have the property that they will be taking back that property, they will be recovering that property. Also, they can authorize the transfer of immovable Waqf property in the form of sale, lease or mortgage, and with the 2/3 board approval. For example, you see that in a company there is board of director, and with the recommendation or with the nod of board of director, a decision is taken for that company. Or in the schools there is a school management committee which decides that how the school should function or any changes that may happen. Similarly, the Waqf board, the members decide about any decision that can be taken for the transfer of the lands which are the properties which are kept under the Waqf board. Also, they can take legal action whenever necessary if there is a property which was found to be encroached by any other body. Also, we have the Central Waqf Council, which was established in 1964, which have the power of advising and overseeing all the state Waqf boards. So at central level we have this Central Waqf Council, and in different states we have state Waqf board. Now, what was the changes that were done, amendments that were done? So the recent amendment which was done, first of all, they has done away with the principle of Waqf by use. For example, let's suppose there is this parcel of land which is used by the religious groups of that particular religion for some purposes. For example, for praying they are using, or they are using for some other purposes. Now, what this Waqf by use principle says that the properties will be recognized as Waqf based on the long-term Muslim, religious or charitable purposes, even when they are not registered as such. Now, it is mandatory to ensure that the transfer is happening with the help of written deeds or contracts. Only the long-term use will not help in recognizing that property as Waqf board. Also, the section 40, which was giving far-reaching powers to the Waqf board, that was also removed by the amendment that was done recently. Also, the major development was that the new powers that was given to the district collector by introducing new section 3C, which empowered the state government to designate an officer not below the rank of collector to inquire if any property which is currently listed at Waqf is in fact the government property or not. And if after that inquiry that officer finds that the property is government property, then that can be again the transfer of that land can happen only by the order of that collector itself. And the moment such an inquiry starts, the property would automatically cease to be categorized as Waqf itself. And if the officer concludes that government land was there which was being used as Waqf, then he could directly order correction in the land revenue records and also in the Waqf board records. Also, certain other amendments that were done. The Waqf board that we are talking, earlier it was the Muslim community which was dominating in that Waqf board itself. But now with the amendment that was done in 2025, inclusion of non-Muslims in the Waqf board was also possible after this amendment. Also, the 5-year rule for creating a Waqf, the definition that who could actually donate a land. So after the amendment, it is there that if someone is a practicing Muslim for 5 years, only then he can donate a land under the Waqf. What exactly is the definition of practicing Muslim is not given in the amendment itself. Also, that the 1995 Act has given the Waqf property a special status that has exempted them from the Limitation Act of 1963. That means a Waqf board could initiate legal proceedings to recover any land which is encroached at any time without any deadline itself. Now, the amendment also removed this provision. Certain other things, for example, 2 women and 2 non-Muslims that we were talking, that they would be now included. Representation of Shia Sunni backward Muslim communities will be in the boards, and separate Waqf boards for Bohra and Aga Khani Muslims. Also, the central government can appoint 3 members to the joint Waqf council also. But now what the Supreme Court said, they have temporarily suspended certain provisions. For example, under the section 3C, the powers that were given to the collector, that authority to unilaterally declare land as Waqf as government property and change the revenue records. So here the far-reaching powers were given to executive itself. Without judicial interventions, the collector can transfer change in the land records also. So that power is suspended. Also, requirement that only practicing Muslim for 5 years can create a Waqf. Again, this is suspended. This change is suspended. Creation for third-party rights in disputed Waqf properties during tribunal or court proceedings. Again, this is suspended. Also, the limit of 4 non-Muslim members in Central Waqf Council, which was established in year 1964 at central level. The limit of 3 non-Muslim members in state Waqf boards. All these amendments that were done, they are suspended now. Now, what are the different concerns that are associated with the amendment? So, historically, if we see, it is the first time we find mention in history in the time of Muhammad Ghori that after defeating Prithviraj Chauhan in Battle of Tarain, he transferred 2 villages, and which is considered as first recorded incident of Waqf. So the concerns with the amendment is that the reduced power of Waqf boards, the section 40 which was deleted. Now the power is shifted to the government officials, and especially majority of the power is given to the collector itself, who is already overburdened with lot of other works. Plus, it also weakening the Waqf board authority, which have major representation of that community itself, who will be able to understand better as per the arguments put by the people of this community, that they will be able to understand better the needs of that community and how that property can be used better. Also, the petitioner who gave petition in the Supreme Court is also of the view that these amendments that are done, they are also against the Article 26 of the Constitution, which provides fundamental rights to the people to manage their religious affairs. Also, the excessive government control, that is the increased role of district magistrate, and the bureaucratic interference, the red tapeism that it can bring, slow decision making, the slow process of transferring of land that it can lead to. Also, the decision making is centralized itself. A lot of power is given to that one authority itself, one office itself. Whereas the boards, as per the critics of this amendment, says that the boards have wide variety of people having wide experiences. They would have been better in deciding the use and other things for this particular Waqf related properties. Then the violation of religious autonomy, non-Muslims on Waqf board. This is undermining Article 26 as per the critics, because Article 26, which is provided under Part 3rd of the Constitution as fundamental rights, gives the power to manage religious affairs. Also, the community rights are also being, the community rights might also be compromised in future. The welfare measures that can be taken after the donation that was done, that process can slow down. Ambiguity in practicing Muslim. Who exactly can be called as practicing Muslim? It is only the prayer, it is, or is there something else that needs to be incorporated, that needs to be done to be categorized or to be defined as practicing Muslim? That is not at all given in the amendment itself. So that with no clear legal definition, there may be a case of misuse as well as misinterpretation. That may also lead to legal uncertainty. That may also lead to certain other complex cases which can further leads to litigation in the courts. Also, the removal of Waqf by user, that is leading to end of recognition through the long-term religious use. That can lead to threats to several mosques that are being used, because let's suppose a particular land, although that was not transferred as Waqf, but still if that is being used for by the people of that community for prayers, or a mosque is built, now there is threat of demolition as per the critics of this amendment. Also, the graveyards or certain other religious, the land that is used for certain other religious purposes, there is threat that particular land will now be transferred to the original land owners as per the critics. Then the religious freedom, that is undermined, that state is controlling the religious endowments, the transfer or the donations that is happening, and the community autonomy is being reduced. The decision making of community, the boards, is being reduced, and it is to some extent encroaching on the faith-based management. It is the faith of people that whatever we are transferring the land is based on Islamic practices, is based on the categories or the things that are kept as pious, religious or charitable as per the Islamic rule. Also, increase in the legal disputes with new verification rules that are coming. There may be more legal disputes that might arise in future. Also, this can lead to delay in the transfer of land, delay in use of that land, and it can also lead to confusion in the property status, whether it belongs to person, whether it belongs to any private individual, government or by the Waqf. Now, what should be done? What should be the way forward? First of all, there is obviously we need to have dialogue and communication with all the stakeholders, because we need to understand the social capital is very important in India. The social cohesion is important. There is a strong need to understand that until and unless there will be peace and harmony in the society, we cannot see constant economic growth, we cannot see a brighter future. And that can be possible only when all the apprehensions of people with regard to any changes that is happening in institutions or other legal framework, in any other legal framework, whatever the changes that are happening. If there is an apprehension of any one community or group of people, that needs to be addressed well, and that can be done only properly with the help of the dialogue and the communication. We need to bring everyone on table itself. We need to address their apprehensions, and we need to ensure that we are giving proper grievance redressal mechanism to them. Also, we can use technology for monitoring compliance and revenue tracking. For example, if someone is transferring a land for, let's suppose, work purposes, is that land being actually used for that purpose or not? Is the revenue that is coming from that land is being used for the intended purpose for which the donation happened or not? Technology can be very useful in this. So the technology should be used to a larger extent. Plus, whenever the technology will be used, for example, land record modernization, when that will be done for these most of the work properties also, if there will be some changes that can be done or that might be done, it will ensure that that change is not being done manually. The human interventions can be minimized. Then also we need to define the key terms clearly. For example, who exactly is practicing Muslim? What should be the objective criteria or the parameters that a person should follow to be categorized as practicing Muslims? Also, with this standard criteria, we can remove the confusions that is related with this particular term itself. Also, the focus should be on revenue generation for the community welfare. As per Sachar committee, they are only getting around 200 crores, but they can get around 12,000 crore. That is the level of property that they are having. So what we need to ensure that we are doing proper mapping. We are ensuring that we are leasing those properties for intended purposes in a better manner, so that we can get better revenue from those properties, and which can be used for intended purposes, which can be used for the welfare of the community itself. Also, there is need for clear dispute resolution mechanism. Initially, in the Waqf Act 1995, majority of the powers were given to Waqf Tribunal itself with limited appellate powers. But now we need proper dispute resolution mechanisms, so that the people who have apprehensions with regard to the transfer, whether intentional or unintentional, of their lands, they can be addressed well. And we also need to protect the properties which are being transferred under as Waqf from encroachment, so that they can be used for the purpose for which it was donated. This is a mains practice question that you people can write from this particular topic. Moving towards next topic, that is India, the new obesity capital. The context is that a write-up has appeared in the form of data point in today's The Hindu newspaper. And again, it is based on a UNICEF report with the name Feeding Profit, How the Food Environments Are Failing Children. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, Health. So any person can be categorized as obese based on his or her body mass index. And body mass index can be calculated by weight in kilogram divided by height in meter square. Any person having more than 30 BMI can be categorized in the category of obese. Now, this report of UNICEF says that the number of number of children in million and adolescent who are living with overweight by the age group, majority of them belongs to 5 to 9 years and 10 to 14 years. Similarly, the percentage of children and adolescents with overweight by age group globally in percentage term, again they majorly belongs to 5 to 9 years and 10 to 14 years. This figure is around 16%. Now, what are the possible reasons why we are seeing this rising cases of obesity, especially in the children and adolescents? The first important reason is the rising income of the persons. With better income, these children are also getting access to processed food, ultra processed foods. They are also buying the ready to cook, the ready to eat foods like in the form of chips or any other things. With better technological integrations, Swiggy and Zomato etc., when they are available in tier 1, tier 2 cities, also in semi-urban areas, these small kids are able to order foods by their own with the help of Swiggy and Zomato, and they are more dependent on these kind of foods. They are liking those kind of foods. In every home, we'll see that how well these children and adolescents like the French fries, which is a very hazardous product for the health itself. Similarly, with information, the information with the advertisements that come, whether in the print media, social media, or in the televisions, etc., that if someone is drinking Sting or any energy drink, that can help them in keeping the energy intact. Now, this information, this advertisement will impact the psyche of the children, and they will obviously be going for buying that Sting. Majority of youth, the majority of the customers of these kind of energy drinks are youth itself. Also, the technology, with better penetration of technology, better accessibility, these ultra processed foods and other things are reaching to these children at a better rate. Also, with better employment and infrastructure building, when better employment opportunities are available, people have that money, their purchasing power is increasing, with the help of which even the children as well as adolescents can afford these foods, which are to some extent costlier as compared to the foods which are cooked at our home itself. Also, the infrastructure, whether it is the digital infrastructure or roads etc., which has improved significantly, is also helping in ensuring that these products are reaching to these children and adolescents. Also, if you look into this data, the density of chain outlets, they are so high in high income countries, but they are also to a larger extent increasing in upper middle income countries as well as in low and lower middle income countries. Also, the density of non-chain outlets, they are also increasing even in the low and lower middle income countries like India itself, like the MACD, 24/7 etc. Now, these chain outlets, they hardly have the options of healthy foods. Whatever they are feeding you, that is not good for health. They are processed with lot of preservatives in them, which highly impacts our health itself. Plus, if you look into this data or chart, type of foods and beverages available in South Asia in 2023, at schools with food service facilities, near a school without food service facility. Again, majority of them are providing cooked meals, and a very less number of schools are providing vegetable and fruits opportunities. Majority of them are giving the fast food and sugar sweetened beverages. Similarly, with regard to the food service facilities near a school, again it is the fast food, packaged snacks and sugar sweetened beverages which are taking a leap in the available options. Now, when at least 8 to 10 hours is being spent by that child either in school or in the vicinity of that school itself, what is the option that is available? Whatever the pocket money that the child is getting or the adolescent is getting, they will be spending on these items itself. Also, if you look into this data, the share of countries with mandatory measures to protect children from unhealthy food environment. In the global level, the legal measures are not sufficient, or even if they are sufficient, they are not implemented properly because of proper oversight mechanism is not there. That shows that how this kind of unhealthy choices are neglected. The regulatory norms are flouted, they are not followed properly. Also, certain other underlying causes, and this is mainly for the adolescents as well as young population, the sedentary lifestyle that they are going through. For example, 9 to 5 job, and then after coming home they are just ordering food, they are just sleeping, again from morning they are going home, they are going to office itself, they are sitting consistently for 6 to 8 hours on that one chair itself. There is no physical activity, there is no exercise at all. Also, the lack of dietary diversity. Majority of them are focusing on some few items itself. There is no fruits, there is no vegetables that is available, there is no options of the protein rich diet. Majority of them are eating those foods which are high in fats, high in sugar, etc., which is leading to several complications, several non-communicable diseases in the form of high diabetes, then the other cardiovascular diseases, etc. The poor infant and the child feeding practices. Around 53% of women are anemic in India as per data from NFHS. Also, what happens that when women are anemic and when they are nutrient deficient, they will be also passing on this to the infants which will be born out of them or which will be feeding on them. So this attitude of neglecting the things, neglecting the nutrition by the woman, by the mother, will also be creating complications for the child born out of them. Also, the poor water and sanitation facilities that are available, especially in slum areas, that leads to various communicable diseases which further diminishes the nutritional capabilities of these persons. Also, other immediate determinants like physical inactivities. Again, the people are not even walking for a small distance, also they are taking auto rickshaws or bikes, etc. The poor dietary intake that is there. Again, the people are skipping their meals, people are skipping their breakfast, they are majorly dependent on these energy drinks like Sting, etc., or they are majorly dependent on tea and coffee. Now, when there will be poor dietary intake, when there will be a poor when there will be complications related to the stress of workplace, family life, etc., plus their diet is not there, that will also complicate the issues related to cardiovascular diseases, and that may also lead to increase in the case of obese. For example, there has been certain studies which said that if the person is taking too much stress, that can also lead to gaining weight. Also, the diseases, underlying diseases like diabetes, etc., can also lead to obese conditions. Plus certain other issues like maternal overnutrition, that can also lead to overweight and obesity. The diabetes that is caused by the maternity itself. Whenever a woman is pregnant, there may be a case of overweight that she might be subjected to, that she might have to deal with. And if she is not if she is not taking precautions with regard to the lifestyle changes, with regard to the nutrition, with regard to physical activities, she might also have to deal with that kind of overweight and obese condition for a longer period of time. The child undernutrition, the stunting, wasting and underweight that is visible. On one case, we are witnessing rising obese population. On the second hand, we are also seeing the rise in the stunting, wasting and underweight. That is the reason we have such a poor rank in the global hunger index itself. So both of these conditions are rising. Plus these people, these children, these adolescents where we are witnessing obese conditions, the nutritional capabilities are not good. They are deficient in majority of the vitamins and minerals. Also, what will be the consequences? There will be non-communicable diseases, and this has become one of the major factors for the mortality of the people, especially in the countries like India. It will also lead to poor reproductive health of the people. That is the reason people are going to alternative technologies. Also, retardation and the cognitive development of the children can also be impacted, because the initial years are very crucial for the cognitive development, and if there is deficiency in the nutrition, that cognitive development might be impaired. Also, certain other reasons like the ultra processed foods which is gaining attention, especially if you look into this data of weight problem, that with increasing income, as per the data from NFHS, the obesity is also increasing. That people are shifting to these ultra processed foods because they don't want to cook, because they are going for the short term measures. Similarly, if you look into this data about the residents in urban and rural areas, again it is more prominent in the urban areas where this hustle culture is there, where people want to grow in a shorter span of time, where people want to focus more on their career and less on these household works. Also, the regulatory challenges, despite having FSSAI regulations, despite have certain state level regulations, the visit by the food inspectors, etc., that is not frequent. There is no oversight mechanism, and that is the reason whatever the norms that are there, they are flouted, they are not followed properly. Also, the national trend as per this NFHS 5, that how this obesity and overweight is increasing with the age, from 7% in men of 15 to 9 years to 32% in men of 40 to 49 years. Also, it is also rising with the income that we have seen, and it also affects both the gender. It is not only limited to any one gender. It increases from 46 to 65% in women and 28% to 60% in men of age bracket of 15 to 49 years. Also, the urban rural divide, the overweight out of obesity affects 46.1% of urban men and 43.1% of urban women, compared to 35.4% and 31.6% in rural areas. And one of the major cause that why we are seeing this, especially in the young population, working population, that this is the data from ICMR, which says that 54% of Indians are physically inactive. Less than 10% engage in recreational physical activities, and that is the reason we are seeing such a high number of obese population, plus the rise in the non-communicable diseases in the form of diabetes, thyroid disorders, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases and other respiratory diseases. Now, what are the initiatives that are taken by the government? For example, Eat Right movement, that where the government is focusing on awareness generation, that have plenty of water, have food that is diversified, that there is good amount of cereal and pulses, food and drink that is high in fat or sugar, they should be consumed in less quantity. Milk and milk products should be consumed plenty. Meat, fish and poultry, they should be consumed moderately, so that we get proper amount of fats as well as other nutrients. And fruits and vegetables, they should also be consumed liberally, so that we get sufficient amount of fibers and several other macro and micronutrients. Then several other programs under this Eat Right is that, for example, the FSSI and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare wants to achieve trans fat free India, and they are again creating awareness with regard to eat healthy. The Mission Life, which was launched, where we are shifting to sustainable alternatives like use of the stairs, etc. That we need to go for balanced diet, eat less and timely, diet diversification, and eliminate the toxic industrial trans fats that are used in majority of the ultra processed food to give them a higher shelf life. Also reducing the consumption of salt, sugar and saturated fats, so that the conditions of diabetes, thyroid, etc. can be minimized. Also, this campaign of Aaj se thoda kam, little less from today itself, to give up certain portions of oil, salt and sugar, etc. Similarly, we have this Integrated Child Development Services Scheme, ICDS, which is providing supplementary nutrition, preschool education, health and nutrition education, immunization and referral services. Under the mission Indradhanush, immunization is being ensured, so that the prevalence of disease can be decreased. Also, the under National Food Security Act 2013, also there has been the provisions where the ready to cook meals as well as other nutritional food are being provided to pregnant and lactating mothers as well as children in Anganwadi. The Poshan Vatika, where the seed medicinal plant and herbs will be used, is being promoted to be used in the garden, that will make our diet nutritious and fortifying. For example, the tulsi leaves, tulsi plant, that can help in fighting inflammation, etc. Also, it will help in building immunity. It will also help in fighting malnourishment, and it will help in purifying the air around us. Then Mission Poshan 2.0 and Saksham Anganwadi, that the 2 lakh Anganwadi will be upgraded as Saksham Anganwadis with capacity building and with proper training. Also, the nutritional norms and standards will be improved. Quality and testing of take-home rations will be strengthened. Traditional community food habits to be promoted, because there are certain food habits like the consumption of millets, grams, etc. They have the better nutritional capabilities. Also, the gluten, etc. is less. For example, makhana, which is also called as superfoods, they will be promoted. Then delivery of foods under the supplementary nutrition program, that will be optimized. Now, there are certain global best practices model. For example, the Saudi Arabia model, where the 50% tax is on sugary drinks, 100% on energy drinks, and whenever there will be high tax, obviously it will increase the prices of these products, and in that case people will be looking towards the cheaper sustainable sustainable alternatives. But in India, the tax is not that high on these sugary drinks which are not healthy. For example, the Sting, that is one of the drink that is called as energy drink, that categorized as energy drink. It is available in a bottle of 20 rupees, 25 rupees, and majority of their customer is in the age bracket of 15 to 25 years itself. Also, in the Saudi Arabia model, in sugary drinks, there is mandatory calorie labeling, also sodium limits in processed foods. This is also recognized by WHO for trans fat elimination and sodium best practices. Then we have the chili warning model, where the black front of pack warning labels on HFSS, high fat, salt and sugar foods, like this, that by this level itself it will be categorized that these foods are high on sugar, salt and the high fats. Now in India, for example, in the case of tobacco that is consumed, there is a warning label. Similar warning label can also come on these products which are high in fat, sugars and salts. That will help in nudging the behavior of the people. That will impact the psyche of the people, where people will be shifting to the sustainable and healthier choices. Also, the marketing restrictions on junk food, especially to the children, school food regulations, that we can ban all unhealthy foods within the vicinity of that school or within the premises of that schools. What we witness that these unhealthy choices are available within the vicinity of the schools itself. But for example, the tobacco shops are banned within that area of the school itself. Similar thing can happen for these sugary and high fat products also. But what should be done? First of all, there can be taxation on unhealthy foods which are high in salt and sugar. They can be termed as sin goods, as the tobacco and other goods are categorized. Whenever there will be high GST that will be levied on them, or people might shift to sustainable alternatives. Also, the stricter regulation of food marketing and manufacturing, that whatever the marketing that is being done, whenever you will see there is an ad of thumbs up or Pepsi that is coming, the disclaimer is very small and it is hardly readable at all. So there should be stringent norms that whenever the marketing is being done, that should be done in a proper manner that people can read that properly. Also, the cross-sector coordination to realign India's nutritional and health trajectory. For example, there can be inter-ministerial coordination in the form of the coordination between Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of MSME and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare can give the parameters that needs to be followed and which should be ensured that is being implemented by MSME and various other industrial establishments. Also, there is need for promoting the preventive care. In India, majority of the focus is on curative care. Once we get the disease, then we focus on the cure of that disease. But focus should be on preventive care, proper immunization, proper nutritional intake, then the proper intake of macro and micronutrients. All that should be ensured, and that will help in proper wellness. And before that, health education should be provided to people. The importance should be and the people should be persuaded properly to shift to swifter alternatives, and the health education should be given to them properly. Also, we can utilize technology with the help of telemedicine and digital health records. For example, the Telemanas facility that is available. Similarly, the doctors facilities can be expanded to the rural areas, underserved or unserved areas, to ensure that we are getting a healthy India. Also, this is a means practice question that you people can write from this topic. In our simplified section, first topic is Supreme Court on anticipatory bail in caste crime. This is related to your GS paper 2, Executive, Indian Constitution, as well as Fundamental Rights and Judiciary. And this particular topic has appeared in today's Indian Express, page number 14. So the context is that on September 1, the Supreme Court quashed a Bombay High Court order that had granted the anticipatory bail to an accused of caste crimes. So the details of case was that there was a person who was accused of using caste slurs as well as using violence, and the assault was public nature as well as motive was electoral, because that person who is the victim didn't voted as per the whims and fancies of the accused itself. Now the case was Kiran versus Rajkumar Jeevraj Jain, in which the bench led by Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai held that the Section 18 of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 creates a specific bar against the anticipatory bail. Under Section 438 of CRPC, which now became Section 482 of BNSS, anticipatory bail is allowed. But under this case, if the case is suggested, there cannot be an anticipatory bail that can be given to the accused persons. And the court is also drawing precedents from several cases like State of MP versus Ramkrishna Balotia, Vilas Pandurang Pawar versus State of Maharashtra, and Prithviraj Chauhan versus Union of India. So these cases which are based on the caste-based assault, abuse, intimidation, which is based on the caste-based stereotypes which are ingrained in the mind of the people. They are the distinct class of cases itself, distinct class of crimes itself. And that is the reason they are not against the Article 14 and 21, they are constitutionally valid. Under Article 14 and 21, we should also give anticipatory bail to these persons who are accused under this crime. But again, this is not allowed, this is not against that Article 14 and 21 because this is distinct class of crime. And in this case also, the caste slurs, public nature of assault and electoral motive shows that this particular offence fall within the ambit of this SC and ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Thereby, the section 80 of this act will be applicable and there cannot be an anticipatory bail that can be given to the person. Also, Article 366 of the Constitution of India talks about the scheduled caste, and under Article 341, the President may notify the scheduled caste for a state or UT after consulting with the state governor, and Parliament can also amend this list by the law itself. And this SC and ST Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, it is a special law that came specifically to deal with the crimes that are committed under the members of SC and ST community. And there are provisions like, for example, special courts are established for speedy trial for the accused persons. Also, the bench clarified that insults and assaults that occur outside the complainant's house in manner that is visible to others, they accounts at acts within the public view, which is an statutory requirement under section 3 subclause 1 subclause R, which further noted that attack was triggered by complainant's voting choice, which attracted section 3(1)(o) of the act that criminalizes the coercion or retaliation in voting against the SC/ST members. But what is the way forward? The ruling reinforces that SC/ST Act is not a procedural formality but a substantive seal to safeguard the dignity and security of the vulnerable communities. And this bar on anticipatory bail, although strict, is constitutionally sound because it addresses the very real threat of intimidation and retaliation that SC and ST population are subjected to. Also, for example, few years back, there was killing of several people in the Sonbhadra district of Uttar Pradesh. Again, that was a land dispute, but some people killed various people from scheduled community itself in the Sonbhadra district. And the court also must respect the legislative intent of section 18 and avoid diluting its force by treating allegations as exaggerated without trial itself. Once the trial will happen, only then it will be we can come into the conclusion whether the allegations are exaggerated or that was true. And that is the reason the writer is also saying that whenever the anticipatory bail application is coming with regard to section 18, with regard to SC/ST Act, the court, especially the High Court, should also keep in mind the special nature, special class of crimes which are kept under the SC/ST Act. Now, what exactly is the bail? The bail is a term which is originated from French verb bailer, which means to give or to deliver. It is the conditional or the provisional release of a person which is held under legal custody in matters which are yet to be pronounced by the court by undertaking a promise to appear in the court as and when required. For example, certain conditions can there be. For example, every person should visit the police station in 24 hours. The passport should be kept in police station. Some kind of these conditions can be kept while giving the bail to the person. Also, it signifies a security or collateral deposited before the court for a release. Now, under section 478 of BNSS, provision of regular bail is there, where the accused has right of a bail upon arrest with a mandatory release under section 478, and indigents may be released on a bond without surety. For example, if within 24 hours, if the person was not produced before the magistrate. In non-bailable offences which are kept under section 40 of BNSS, accused has right to bail upon arrest with mandatory release if bail is posted, and indigents may be released on a bond without sureties. Then the anticipatory bail under section 482 of BNSS, where which allows the accused person to apply for bail even before their arrest also. Then the statutory bail or default bail, which is kept under section 187 subclause 2 of BNSS. That is, the term is limited to 15 days during the first 40 or 60 days of a 60 to 90 days detention period. Then the interim bail, which is provided under section 438 of BNSS, which is a temporary release for an accused during their trial itself. Moving to our next topic, that is what is involution that is plaguing the Chinese EV sector, and this is related to your GS paper 3 growth and development, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu page number 10. So involution is a process in which rivals in certain sectors indulge in price wars where they try to attempt the capturing of market, or they wants to remove their arch rival in that particular sector itself. And how they do that? By keeping their prices to such an extent that it is below even the production cost of that particular product. Let's suppose there are 5 companies in any one sector itself. Now one company is keeping the product prices to such a low that other 4 cannot sustain itself. Then only this player will be left in the market, and which can gain majority of the market in future itself. And that is the reason this involution is being witnessed in the Chinese market. And these price wars are counterproductive, as they reach thresholds where the retail prices of the product is so low that even the production cost cannot be realized, that is pushing firms into losses itself. Now, why exactly this involution is being witnessed in China? Because the tariffs war that is going on, especially in the case of EV sector, where China is having an upper hand. The production cost is less, raw material availability is there, critical minerals are there, their production capacity, the technology that they are using is better as compared to global peers. But when their products were globally competitive, because of the tariffs that are imposed, because of countervailing duties that are imposed on their products are becoming less competitive. And that is the reason they are keeping their prices to such a low extent that their products can become competitive in the global market. But another thing that we need to understand, that it is the other parts of the world, for example Europe or Turkey or any other country, they are also dependent largely on China for supply of these critical equipments in the EV sector, in the auto ancillary sector, etc. Now when they are increasing the tariffs, if they are also understanding that they are dependent also, and that is the reason they are ensuring that there is constant supply of these products that is happening in their markets. And to address this particular issue, the Beijing government, the China government on July released a draft overhaul of pricing law to curb below cost selling and algorithmic pricing abuses itself. Also, the president of China also wrote a letter, article where he said that curbing disorderly price competition and orderly exit of outdated capacity, the clear sign yet that the central government planned a phase down of the price wars itself. So it is not only limited to the talks of the industries itself, industrial leader itself. Now it has reached to the higher levels also, and that is the reason Chinese government is going to take certain measures for this price wars that is going on, the involution that is being witnessed. Also, the trade remedies that are allowed by the WTO, one is the countervailing duty, that if the domestic producers are hurt by the import of subsidized products, countervailing duty can be imposed. Let's suppose a packet of biscuit whose actual cost is 100 rupees, but the government from where it is being exported, let's suppose here in case China is exporting, let's suppose, one packet of biscuit. Now let's suppose government is giving 20 rupees subsidy on that particular packet of biscuit. It is coming in Indian market at a cost of 80 rupees. But now it is hurting Indian products. The Indian products will not remain competitive, and that is the reason Indian government can levy an countervailing duty to offset this subsidy that was provided by the Chinese government. Similarly, the anti-dumping duty, where a company export a product at a price much lower than the price it normally charge in its home market, and that is called as dumping. And here again government can levy an anti-dumping duty, but they have to establish that dumping is causing genuine or material injury to the domestic industry. For example, the actual cost of product was 100 rupees and it was being sold at 100 rupees in Chinese market, but they are deliberately selling this at 80 rupees to hurt Indian industries, so that tomorrow these Indian industries doesn't remain competitive, sustainable, and they can capture major market. In that case, anti-dumping duty can be levied to offset the lower prices that was being charged by these companies in Indian markets. Also, the safeguard action, which allows a country to temporarily restrict import of a product if its domestic industry is injured or threatened with injury due to an import surge. Moving towards next topic, that Aadhar is part of statute and it can be used by voters. This is said by the Supreme Court itself, and this is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions and e-governance, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 10. So Aadhar, which is a 12-digit unique identification number which is issued by Government of India. Who can get an Aadhar? All resident of India, including children, transgenders and differently abled. All persons can get Aadhar. And when the constitutionality of Aadhar Act came in front of the Supreme Court, they gave the judgment in which they said where it is mandatory to use Aadhar and where it is not mandatory. For example, Aadhar can be used as proof of identity in the UPSC examinations that you people give. Majority of you take your Aadhar card itself, that establishes your identity, that the name that is written on the admit card is the same person whose name is in the Aadhar card itself. Also to file the income tax return, to get the phone connection, to get gas connection, for online know your customer regulations, also to open bank accounts, to avail government subsidies as proof of address or residence. All this can be used. Also, Aadhar is not proof of citizenship, and that was the question that was asked in 2018, that Aadhar can be used as a proof of citizenship or domicile. That is incorrect. Also, the Supreme Court verdict that came on Aadhar, that Aadhar has to be linked with PAN card ITR. It is not mandatory for school admission. It is still mandatory to avail welfare scheme benefits, for example, schemes like Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. And the details cannot be disclosed in the name of national security. The Aadhar metadata can be saved for 6 months, and it is not mandatory for opening bank account. Individuals can also use file a case under the Aadhar Act if their Aadhar data is misused. Also, you don't have to provide Aadhar for a mobile correction. It is not mandatory for examination conducted by CBSE, UGC or other public examination authority like NET. eKYC using Aadhar is not mandatory for the mobile wallets like Paytm wallet, Airtel Payments Bank wallet, and children cannot be denied benefits for the lack of Aadhar card. This was the verdict of the Supreme Court. Now here what happened, the Supreme Court on Monday said that the Aadhar card is part of right to vote statute and voters permitted to utilize this unique identity proof to extent that it is permitted by the law. And this section 23 subclause 4 of RPA Act allows use of Aadhar to authenticate the entries. Whenever a person is going to cast his or her vote at the booth, he can go with that Aadhar card itself, which can act as the proof of identity that it is the same person whose name is in electoral roll is coming to cast his or her vote. And the bench of justice was responding to the submission that were intended to portray that Aadhar is inferior to the 11 documents which are listed by Election Commission for voter verification during the special intensive revision in the Bihar electoral rules. Initially 11 documents were given, they were categorized as acceptable to be included in the SIR, but the Supreme Court said that the 12th document will be the Aadhar itself. And also the court declared that the 12th document was this Aadhar card, and voters can attach their claims and objections for including or excluding their names in the voter list, and this was said in SIR. And this section 23 of RPA 94 says that Election Commission officials can use Aadhar to authenticate entries on the electoral rolls itself. So Aadhar is permitted to cast the votes. And this is the second question related to this Aadhar Act, that this data can be stored for more than 3 months. This statement was incorrect. It can be stored for 6 months. Just eliminate option 1 and 3. State cannot enter into any contract with private corporation for sharing of Aadhar data. Aadhar is mandatory for obtaining insurance product, and it is mandatory for getting benefits funded out of Consolidated Fund of India. You people tell me the answer of this particular question in the comment box. I said it is mandatory to get the benefits for the government schemes. Based on that, try to answer this particular question. Moving towards next topic, that is unemployment rate falls from the data of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation Periodic Labour Force Survey, and this is related to your GS paper 3 employment growth and development, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 15. So the unemployment among the female youth rise for the third month in 4 months. In August, according to the data of PLFS, even in as the all India unemployment rate declined to joint 5-month low of 5.1%. Now what exactly are these indicators? So worker population ratio is the percentage of employed person in the population. Then we have the labor force participation rate, which is the percentage of persons in labor force that is working or seeking or available for work in the population. Then we have the unemployment rate, that is the percentage of persons who are unemployed among the persons in the labor force itself. That is the unemployed persons divided by the labor force. Then the activity status, that is determined based on the activity that is pursued by persons during the specified reference period. For example, current weekly status, where the reference period is 7 days, usual status, where the reference period is 365 days, based on which it can be categorized whether person is employed or not. So the PLS data says that unemployment rate for urban female in the 15 to 29 year age bracket is 25.7% in August, and at 15.6%, the August unemployment rate for young urban males was down from 17.1% in the month of July. Also, the urban youth unemployment rate to 18% was it came to 18% from 19% in the previous month. Also, the female youth unemployment rate rose to 14.3%, while that for males declined to 12.6%. And both these numbers stood at 13% in July. Also, the decrease for females and decrease among males cancelled each other out, leading to rural youth unemployment rate staying steadily at 13% in August itself. Also, rise in unemployment among the female youth came amid only a slight increase in the labor force participation rate to 21.4% from 21.1%, and an unchanged worker population ratio of 17.6% at national level. Also, this monthly job data is based on current weekly status, where the reference period is 7 days. This data that you can remember for being used in the mains examination. Next topic is that there are plans for a second indigenous population of cheetahs in Madhya Pradesh. This is related to your GS paper 3 conservation, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express page number 30. So, to build a second home for cheetah in Madhya Pradesh, plans are there to introduce a female into the Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, which is the second home of cheetahs, and the Chambal River Valley Wildlife Park, in which the 2 males were released in April. Also, the Kuno National Park, that was the first home, now has 29 big cats, and cheetah has been extinct in the wild in India before 20 individuals were transported from South Africa in 2 batches in 22 and 23. It is transported from Southern Africa, not exactly South Africa. Also, the planned relocation of female in Gandhi Sagar, which straddles the districts of Mandsaur and Neemach on Madhya Pradesh border with Rajasthan. So, this is the area, this is the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, which is near the Rajasthan border itself. Now, when the female will be introduced, the mating can happen, that can lead to natural growth of these cheetahs. Also, some of the behavioral aspects that you can remember of cheetah, because in past few years what we have seen, UPSC started asking questions related to the behavioral aspects of animals. They asked about elephant in 2022, they also asked about leopards previously. First, after the first few days, she begins moving in a star pattern in various directions during the pregnancy period. Also, the female nurses her curs for about 4 months, and during this period and in later weeks of her pregnancy, she spends 2 to 5 times more energy in attempts to avoid predators and also to search for water and food. Also, the cheetah cubs grows faster than the youngs of any large felid, gaining about 45 grams of weight on a daily basis. Also, it is important to ensure that there are enough prey in those locations. Also, the presence of leopards as co-predators in same area is major concern. The infighting between these is also major concerns that needs to be looked. Now, cheetah, the words comes from the Sanskrit word chitarka, which means spotted, and it is categorized as vulnerable in IUCN Red List. It is also mentioned in Neolithic cave paintings, and it is the fastest land animal with an speed reaching up to 113 km per hour. And there are 28 from Namibia and 12 from Southern Africa were introduced, and Kuno National Park was the first place, and the long-term population size is expected to have the 50 plus. Also, This type of relocation happened in several other areas like South Africa, Malawi and Mozambique. Also, it can share space with certain other animals like Asiatic lions. And the leopard population are the major threats to the population of cheetah. That is all from today's analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.